So hello and welcome back yet again to another week of exploring Azeroth with Beryl and Onyx, my elf sisters who have been exploring all over Azeroth for you. This week we are going to be exploring a very interesting place that is also probably one of the more boring places in Northrend, although it didn't have to be. We are going to be exploring Crystalsong Forest. Now, honestly, I remember doing a few quests in this area in Wrath of the Lich King, but I went back here with a couple different characters who I know haven't quested through this zone, and there is not one single exclamation point anywhere. So I dug a little bit deeper, and it seems like most of the quests in Crystalsong are given to you from other areas, which makes sense with what I found out later, which was the Mage City of Dalaran, the beautiful floating city high above Crystalsong Forest, actually was such a resource hog that they couldn't put any of the quests that they were planning on putting in Crystalsong Forest there. It was actually going to be the home of the Argent Tournament and all of the dailies, which is why they have the Windrunner Spire and can't remember the name of the other one right now, but don't worry, we'll go visit it. But it's the reason why you have the two factions of elves there. So I thought that was really interesting. It's just Dalaran would have become Lagron if it would have been put there with quests. So that was interesting. I also found out, and now I feel really, really bad because I haven't finished all of the Dragonflight quests, but evidently there are some quests in Dragonflight that send you back to Crystalsong Forest. So Blizzard must have been like, dude, we didn't put anything in Crystalsong Forest except a bunch of absolutely beautiful eye candy, which you can't really deny. Crystalsong Forest is beautiful. And the reason for that beauty lies far, far in the recesses of Azerothian history. Evidently, Crystalsong Forest was originally known as Moonsong Forest. It was an outpost of the Kaldori Empire about 10,000 years ago, and it was in the very northern parts of ancient Kalimdor, or Kalimdor? Kalimdor. I can never say that one right. And, that was before the Sundering, obviously. And it was supposed to be a repository of arcane relics and artifacts that the various Highborn had collected. And when the Sundering happened, the elves who were living in Moonsong Forest had no source of power to feed their magical hunger, and so they were left vulnerable to disease and aging and all of those other things. And so the elves at the outpost of Shandaral, they tried to figure out, like so many other elves did, what they could do to prolong their lives and stave off all that magical hunger. So about 6,000 years ago, they saw blue dragons crystallizing things and then taking power from them. They were like, oh look, the blue dragons make crystals for snacks. And they tried to interact with the dragons. The dragons rebuffed them. So the elves actually infiltrated the Nexus to learn the dragon's techniques of crystallizing things and drawing power from it. While they were in the Nexus, they also stole some of the relics, which triggered a bunch of different magical wards, and that kind of sort of made the blue dragons just a little bit mad. Can't really blame them there. and the blue dragons retaliated. These elven sorcerers were obviously not equipped to deal with a bunch of very, very angry blue dragons, so they all decided to use the techniques that they acquired from the Nexus. They focused their power. They wanted to crystallize just a little piece of the forest and then draw some magic and be able to fight. Well, it didn't work out. And they crystallized almost the entire forest. So I thought that was kind of funny. Also, there is one living section in the forest, and that is because Vandarl Staghorn actually planted a branch of Nordersil in Crystalsong Forest, trying to siphon the Sartanite and, filter out the old god influence. And amazingly enough, even though this great tree is nowhere near as big as any of the others that we usually see in the game, it's still alive, which says a lot when you consider that Vordrasil over in the Grizzly Hills succumbed. So I thought that was very, very interesting. But yeah, like I said, other than eye candy, and if you do the cooking dailies in Dalaran, at least once or twice a week you'll probably be sent down to the Crystalsong Forest to gather up some carrots and make a delicious little stew with carrots and northern meat. But that's really about it. Well, and there is a pet battle daily in Crystalsong Forest, and that is against Nearly Headless Jacob, who obviously is a reference to the Harry Potter Nearly Headless Nick. But yeah, it's kind of interesting because, like I said, Blizzard actually had a lot of plans for this area, and what they didn't actually plan on was how big of a resource drain Dalaran was going to be. Which I did see speculation in the forums that is the reason why Dalaran in Legion is actually placed over kind of just nothingness, because they were like, we've learned our lesson. So I thought that was funny. Sunreavers. That's the name of the other faction who were supposed to give you dailies. Now, I do remember that there actually were Argent Tournament dailies that did occur in Crystalsong Forest, but they weren't given to you there. I think they were given to you up in Icecrown. Speaking of Icecrown, I think it was either Bronn or Modern Bronzebeard, and I just butchered his name even worse than I usually butcher things. He actually visited Crystalsong Forest in, I think, the Chronicles, after, of course, we've defeated the Lich King, and he said that it remains much the same. The Violet Stand, where the Kirin Tor were combating the Blue Dragon problem, has been abandoned now, but the Sunreavers and the Windrunner outposts are still there, although they're not doing a whole heck of a lot of anything, so pretty much exactly the same as it was back then. He also said that the Forlorn Woods were a very nice place to camp, and that he would not drink any water still to this day that came out of Icecrown, and honestly, I can't really blame him. I did find out one other really interesting thing, and I don't know why, but evidently, for some reason, whether it has to do with the crystal trees or whether it has to do with the great tree that is still spreading its influence, nothing undead can actually come into Crystalsong Forest. I mean, obviously, player character notwithstanding. So if you're playing an undead, obviously you won't be barred, but nothing of the Scourge could cross into Crystalsong Forest. So I thought that was really interesting and kind of makes me wonder why everybody didn't just have an outpost here in the Crystalsong Forest. But yeah, I'm not sure if it has something to do with the heavy arcane in the area from all of the crystallized arcane magic, or if maybe it has something to do with this big old great tree that's still filtering out evil. I thought it was a very interesting thing, though. So, the biggest thing that everybody remembers about Crystalsong Forest is the There and Back Again quest that you get in Dalaran, where you learn to use the little teleportal stone. And honestly, the only thing I ever used that for was to get down into Crystalsong Forest so that I could do the cooking quest for the cooking daily. But it does make a nice little convenient way to get up into Dalaran. Also, I kind of like the Kirin Tor little encampments. I'm always kind of intrigued by them. And the fact that being Kirin Tor, there's always a library. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.